Hello and welcome to my studio. In this video I'm going to show you how I made this image. Now this is your classic still life study. What makes this intriguing is that it was lit with just one small speed light with a guide number of about 35 and no commercially produced modifiers. Okay, so to start with then, this is the speed light that I've been using. This is, like I said, a guide number of 35, not particularly powerful, and it has a radio receiver attached to the bottom of it. The transmitter is on the top of the camera here. The rest of my set consists of this old palette which is forming the background, and then coming a little bit further forward I have my main table with the subject on it. This is yet another palette. And then further forward still, I have the camera with a 24 to 70mm zoom lens at about the 50mm mark for this size of subject. As I mentioned before, on the top of the camera here I have a flash sync transmitter. The camera is tethered into Capture One software. So the first thing to do, as usual, just to take a test image just to see if there's any contamination from the house lights. So there we go. You can see from this that there is nothing to speak of here. This is with the camera set to an aperture of f8, which should give me a reasonable depth of field, and a shutter speed of 250th of a second, which is the flash sync speed for that camera, and that's all at a ISO of 100. Okay, so with that exercise complete, it's time to think about the lighting. So just how was this lit to give that result that we see here? Now conventionally what I would do is put a reasonably large softbox more or less above the subject. But I'm not using any softboxes and I'm not using Studio Flash. I'm just using a Speedlight. So what I'm going to do instead is put a large reflector, which is going to be just a piece of card, which I'm just going to put on a lighting stand above here somewhere. Here we are. So this is literally just a piece of mount board. So it's just a piece of white card, which I've just put at a bit of an angle here, so that I can illuminate it with a flash from down here somewhere. So I'm going to put the speed light on a stand about here, and it will fire up into this piece of card. Now the angle and position of this card is quite critical. The position is so that the back edge here is just out of view from the camera, and the angle is so that any light from this card doesn't hit the background directly. That will keep the background quite dark. So with that in place, the next thing to do is to place the flash. So here I have the flash that I mentioned earlier. I put it on the top of this stand here, and I'm just going to angle it so that it's pointing vaguely at the card, like so. And we'll just trigger that for a test. There we go. So I'll do an exposure. Okay, and you can see from this that this isn't exactly like the original picture that I showed you earlier. It's very harsh lighting, and the background has been caught with the flash. Now this is all due to spill from this flash. On these type of speed lights, the light will just come out all over. So what we need to do is limit that. So what I've done is made a sort of snoot out of this piece of cardboard, which I've just rolled into a tube and put a clip on there to hold it together. So I'm just going to put that on the top of the flash like so. Now hopefully what that will do is stop the flash hitting the background and only let it hit a patch up here somewhere. So we'll give that a test. There we are, that's starting to get there. we've got a bit of flare at the top here, and obviously we've got the edge of the snoot in the picture as well. So there's a few adjustments to make. So I'll start with just adjusting this so that we can't see it in the camera view anymore. So I'll just move it slightly to one side. Try there. I'll just check that in the viewfinder. Yeah, that's out of view now. I'm just going to try and see where it's hitting the card just by triggering it and watching the card so that I can see where the bright spot is. There we go. So I think the bright spot was more or less in the middle there, so that should be okay. So it only remains to get rid of the flare, which I can do by just flagging the light off the lens by using yet another piece of card. So I'll just hold this in position, just roughly here somewhere, and fire that. There we are, that's got rid of the flare, and the exposure is possibly a little dark, but we'll leave that as it is for the time being. Right, so the next thing to do, just to make the subject look a little nicer, I'm just going to use this aerosol spray here full of water and just give them a bit of a spray. There we are. And with that done, we'll just give that another go. There we are, that's looking quite a lot nicer. So this is what we had before, and this is what we've got now. Okay, so for the main part of the image, that's about it really. The next thing that I want to do is just to throw some light on the background so that it ends up separating it from the foreground here. So I'm just going to use the same flash, but just in a different position. So just a glancing blow on the background, something like that. Right, so we'll just take a test image just to see what that looks like. There we are, and you can see from that the first thing is that it's way too bright. So I'm just going to turn the energy down on that flash gun. So this is at full energy at the moment, so I'm just going to take it down to 1/32 of its power, or 5 stops. And we'll just take that again. There we go, that's more like it, that's looking a bit more like what I want to do. But some of the light is actually hitting the table here. So what I think I need to do is just flag off part of the light from that flash gun. So yet again, I'll use a piece of card, and with the aid of this elastic band, I'll just attach it to the side of this flash gun. Just like that. And we'll just give that another test. Okay, that's much better, but it's not quite in the right place yet, so I just need to adjust that. The thing about using flash guns like this is that you do need to do quite a bit of experimentation to get things in the right place. There we are, that's looking more like it. You can see the illumination on the background there. That's pretty good. That's more or less what I want. So with those images captured, it's time to go into Photoshop and do the post-production. So here we are in Photoshop. And I've loaded the two images. This is the background and this is the foreground. So the first thing I want to do is just make a stack of those images, and I find it easiest just to let Photoshop do it for me. So under File, come down to Scripts, load files into stack, ask it to add the open files, and just click on OK. There we go. So now we have the two images on different layers. If I turn that one off, it reveals the background. So now if I change the blending mode from normal to screen, that will let the background come through. Okay, so far so good. Now on the background, I have this mark in the wood, which I find a little distracting. So I just want to address that. So I'll just select that layer. So I'm just editing the background layer now. And what I think I'll do is I'll just use the patch tool just to patch in a new piece there. So select the icon, just draw around the bit that you want to remove. Like so. And literally just move it to another position. Like that. Okay. Now that did actually just pick up on these three dots as well. So what I can do now is just use the patch tool again, and I'll just move those so that they're not quite so obvious. Like that. There. Okay, so with that bit now completed, I think the next thing that I would do is go for some form of crop. So I usually pick a ratio of 16:9 because it fits the videos very well. But for this sort of subject, you can pick whichever suits the subject. I'm just going to move that in ever so slightly a bit, like so. There, something like that. And I'm just going to click on OK. There we are. And now finally, I just want to take the corners down a bit and just do a little bit of vignetting. There are lots and lots of different ways to do this. I prefer just to add another layer. So I've now got another layer on top of the other images. And I'll just, using black, paint the corners in ever so slightly. So I'll just get a paintbrush. I'll make that quite large. Something like that. We'll just pop that a little bit of black in each corner. Don't need to bother with those two. I think we'll just do this corner. Might just do that a little more. There we are. Just like that. There we are. Maybe a little bit on there. Super. And there we have it. That is quite a nice image, I believe, just taken with one Speedlight. Although it looks like it was taken with multiple lights and also lots of modifiers. Okay, well I hope you liked seeing how I did that, and if you like watching these sort of things, do click on the other images as they appear and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you very much for watching.